Whenever you're ready.
Fantastic.
Ready to rock and roll. Okay, so welcome to the Manchester SEO podcast. Today we're really happy to be joined by Ben Fish of, I'm looking at your thing here, BRJF Accountants. There's a lot of initials there to get in the right order.
There is indeed. It gets mistakenly put quite a lot. We end up with a lot of different business names from week to week.
Ben runs an accountancy business. It's not just any accountant, it's my accountant, and a very good one from personal experience. So welcome.
No pressure to present a good picture of myself, eh?
And you come all the way from Chorley today, so you've battled against South Manchester traffic. And
I have indeed. I didn't realise I was quite coming all the way to Cheshire. It's been a bit of an adventure getting here, but I'm here now, and I feel like my stress has reduced and the road rage has disappeared. I'm good.
There's nothing like South Manchester traffic to turn the most mildest mannered man into a raging. Anyway, let's move on. Thanks for coming. Tell us a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Ben. I'm the director of BRJ for Accountants, an accountancy practice that was set up going on 5.5 years ago. Now we're based in between Chorley and Preston, in a small town called Exton, and we deliver services to basically companies generally under the audit threshold. So anything from your startup all the way to potentially £6 million turnover companies, and we'll discuss a little bit more about the business later. I won't jump straight into that. Personally, I'm a married man. I'm a dad of a 3-year-old. Most important person in my life, called Lottie. She runs me absolutely ragged. If I look a bit tired, she will be the reason why. In my spare time, I spend a lot of time either with my 3-year-old daughter or my 2 dogs. And if my wife gets a look in between any of those 3, then she's a lucky. I say she's a lucky woman. She may count herself as an unlucky woman, to be fair. But so that's a little bit about me personally. I enjoy going to. I enjoy watching sports and going to the odd sporting event, but I'll keep my
allegiances.
My sporting allegiances to myself before I let out too much. And I let anyone.
You don't want to lose clients.
I don't want to let anyone form too much of an opinion about me. So let's just say I watch sport for the fun of it.
And so, accountancy.
Yeah.
You obviously have to pass a lot of exams for that. So how did that come?
So where's it all come about from? Well, originally my late father was an accountant. It's kind of do what your dad did kind of thing. When I was growing up, looked up to that, thought looks like he's got a stable job, fantastic. Let's do that. Went to university many years ago, did an accountancy degree, and it just kind of followed on from there. Really, went into business, got my first employment, and they agreed to pay for my exams, and it was something I was passionate about doing. At the time, I didn't know why I was passionate about it, what the outcome was of me being passionate, apart from I just wanted to learn and understand, and through doing exams that helps you do that, and obviously through working as well, or being in the working environment, you pick up a lot. So I spent the first probably 3-4 years of my kind of professional career, like you said, spending a lot of weekends studying, sacrificing a lot to get qualified, and to be fair, within the accountancy sector, you're never too qualified. There's always CPD. There's always something that you can becoming kind of, or educate yourself on. So the learning never stops. But definitely in the first 3 or 4 years, that was kind of a real tough part, because you're spending all day at work, and then you're coming home and you're revising, and all accountants out there will know the pain of doing the exams, and although you're passionate about becoming qualified, there's still times through that journey that you think, is it all going to be worth it?
Sometimes the studying and the because it takes quite a long time. That can remove the passion and
it can
and take it away from you, can't it?
It does, and you've got to remember the end goal of why you're doing it, not why you're learning about something that may not be really applicable to what your end goal is.
Yeah.
You could be learning, I won't go too much into kind of what's included within the accountancy exams, but there is a lot of topics.
Yeah.
So given there's a lot of topics, there's a lot of things that you may think, well, it's not really that useful for me, but you've got to remember why you're doing it to become fully qualified, what that gives, what image that gives to, let's say, in the practice world of accountants, to your client, the confidence that portrays in you, that you've spent that time investing to become fully qualified, to give them the confidence that you do know,
you kind of know what you're talking
know
about.
what you're talking about, and they can rely on you to be able to answer the questions, and you've been through the hardship, in all honesty, to get to that position, because unfortunately in today's world it's an unregulated market. Accountancy, anyone could call themselves an accountant and register with HMRC. We don't publicise that,
No.
but at this time it's not HMRC don't regulate everyone that does it. There is regulated bodies of which we are part of one to become chartered, but just to state we're chartered Institute of Management Accountants, but at the same time you don't necessarily have to be chartered, which in some ways causes some issues in the industry, but at the same time it does kind of highlight the importance of bringing in a chartered accountant as well, and the value they can add, given the time and experience that they've had, and the exams. I would say the exams help you better with then being able to put that in good stead with the experience. Without the experience, the exams are nothing in my eyes. If you can't put it into practice, what's the point of knowing the theory? That's kind of very important to
it's relating that every business is different slightly, isn't it?
Exactly. So it's not a one model fits all. You can't just take an exam paper and go, right, I'm going to apply that answer to all my clients, for example, because you wouldn't be able to do it. But you're right. So it's right. It's about applying your knowledge. It's about applying that experience to then your clients. We've got a broad breadth of clients from lots of different industries, so it's not all one kind of one shape fits all. But back to kind of my early days of my career. Then there was a lot of studying and a lot of sacrifices on weekends that I probably didn't want to sacrifice at the time. But you do it knowing about the end picture. Your original question was, well, Ben, you know what I mean? You can't. Why did you feel like giving up? And I think everyone feels like giving up at some point through doing their accountancy qualification. It's not supposed to be easy, but if you kind of remember why you're doing it, then.
Did your father run his own business?
He didn't run his own business. He helped with the implementation of kind of finance systems. So you've heard of like SAP and Sage, and there's a few others that have kind of not there anymore. But when he was kind of when he was working, he worked as a contractor, basically implementing those systems into big companies. He actually did it within the Manchester area, so a lot of the companies in the Manchester city centre area. So I've seen that now. My passion is in systems. Anyone who knows me, I don't get me wrong, I'll get you onto a finance system, I'll make it work for you, and we work with plenty of the different ones. My passion doesn't lie there. My passion lies in supporting businesses grow. And how they do that, and what they need to know in order to do that, and then how does that fit then with the compliance? Because for smaller companies, it's all very good saying, well, we want to help you grow, but you still got to do your fundamental compliance alongside with that. So it's how do we present a package to smaller companies to say, look, here's how we can help you understand your numbers as much as possible, so you don't end up digging a big hole for yourself, while at the same time keeping you in line with what you need to do as a business owner and as a director.
I mean, we've spoken about this before. That's really what attracted me to yourselves, because I was really just a startup really at the time, and had thoughts of growing fairly quickly, but then the financial side of things is something I'd never done before, and other accountants I spoke to were just there to sign you up, and then at the end of the year they'd say, can you pass me this? Whereas really, to grow and to make sure I'm not doing anything wrong or illegal or anything like that, I needed someone that was proactive to say, have you thought about this? If you're going to go to this level, you need to plan for this. That's what I've the benefit I've had.
I think there's I think anything that a client experiences in the year, whether that's a problem, will generally come out at year end if the accountant's got any level of let's say investment in their client, because they'll bring it up and say you should have done X, Y and Z. However, that's often the easy way to do things. The harder way for an accountant is be proactive and capture that issue at the time, and then be able to advise accordingly, so then they do the right thing within the year. So in order to do that, we kind of present ourselves as your finance partner, and even for a business that turns over £30,000 doesn't mean you can't have a finance partner. It's just part of that package of Ben's my accountant, BRJ for accountants on my accountant. I call them if I've got a problem, and they do my compliance. Now you would think that would open a barrel of barge of phone calls, and we'd be non-stop answering the phone, but it's not the case. It's less than you may think, but the ease of the client being able to call without thinking, am I going to get charged for this time? Do they want to answer? Who do I speak to? That's half the problem. Who can answer my query? Then it's a weight off their shoulders to know that when they do run into a problem, well, they are making a fundamentally big decision in their business or their personal life that's going to have tax consequences or implications. Then they can ask the question first, so they know, look, if it's a big question and it needs an exercise done by us separately, then we'll have that discussion. But the ability to ask the question in the first place and understand, okay, well, here are the implications of doing X and Y, and it takes a weight off their shoulders, and also stops us from having to present loads of potentially bad messages at the end of the year to the clients.
Which you don't want to do.
Why did you do that? And why did you do that? And why didn't you tell us? And why didn't you tell us is a thing that accountants will say so frequently. Why did if you just told us? And the client will probably inside the head think, I didn't realise I could. I didn't realise that was a relationship, and it's all about relationship being an accountant. It's such a fundamental part of the service. But it's a silent relationship. You don't hear from us every day. We're not trying to sell you everything every day. You don't get an email from us, but we're there when you need us. It's a support package, and it's not just I call it a letterbox service of like you described. At the end of the year, we'll come and ask your information. You'll send us, and we submit it. Now that absolutely isn't the service in terms of we come and ask you for the information, or we come and ask the client for information at the end of the year. We'll have a back and forth. We'll have an annual review with them, and we'll submit the compliance, of course, because that's a fundamental bread and butter of what we do. But built upon that is a lot more of a service that supports the client and makes them feel.
Half the time you don't know what you're able to do or claim for or to save money on, or which is purely, which is just good business practice.
And I'd kind of flip that back on yourself, James, and say I've got no idea how to get my website up in Google. And there's probably a million ways to do it and a million complexities, and I don't know that. And you're the expert, and I'd come straight to you if I ever wanted to get more feed through my website. Which one day maybe that's the case. I mean, we're quite busy at the moment, but I would absolutely come running to you straight away. And it's flipped back on the accountancy. There's forever changes in legislation. I mean, you turn on the telly and you won't have to kind of look too far to find the government
every budget
changing something. It's our job to keep up with that and understand what does that mean for each of our clients. So it's not the expectation for us that the client should know. It's just the expectation the client tells us what they're doing, and then we can advise them accordingly based on what they tell us.
So going back to taking the exams, and you're passing the exams, and you're in a bigger business, did you always have in your mind that you'd want to start up your own business, or did that come through time?
So I spent a few years working at a couple of different FTSE 100 companies in the northwest, and then progressing through, and I thought I've got a passion to help smaller businesses rather than be a small cog in a big wheel. I want to be a small cog in small wheels, and help and actually see tangible evidence of us supporting businesses. And the frustration of maybe not being able to move things as quick as I would want to have things moved in larger businesses frustrated me by wanting to give advice and it not necessarily all being listened to at that time. It became a frustration. Now, my employers before I set up the company were very good. I put that on record. They supported and they saw the potential of what I was doing. So they fully supported it. But it was always in the back of my mind. Yes, it was something to want to do. I've got a passion for tax, which is one of the strangest probably set of words anyone could ever put together.
I never thought I'd hear that, actually.
Maybe if you ask the whole country, you may only just be able to fill up this room with people who could possibly say that. So I spend weekends, evenings, that's my wife, she thinks I'm absolutely bonkers, researching different scenarios, different tax laws and tax cases, and that's just me. That's what interests me. It's an addiction in a good way. I want to know as much as I possibly can know about it, and ever since I knew that was what I had a passion for, then I thought the best way to do this is set up my own business, and I can offer the service how I think it should be offered. Because a lot of people who go into accountancy and tax are almost institutionalized by the level of exams and qualifications that they've done, that they almost lose their personality as an accountant. And it's really important as an accountant. You still need a personality. You still need to communicate with your clients. At the end of the day, you still need to have a joke. Life's a little bit short not to. And you've got to be able to discuss difficult issues with clients and have an honest chat, and without having a personality and communication skills, you struggle with that. And that's what I also found, I found there was a problem within the industry in terms of that level. So I always knew that it was something I wanted to do.
I get that kind of passion for something. I remember a conversation that we had where you said, James, if you want to make Ben happy, you need to do it like this and set it up like that, and then this is the result. I wasn't totally
bought in,
happy about the phrasing, but but it made total sense and that's what I was after. That was my question to you was, how do I do this for the best for the business? And you're like, well, do it like this, the result's that, which is far more efficient than anything else.
Yeah, and the way I word things differently with different clients, but the way I worded that with yourself is because a lot of people will do things because a client have asked them to do it, right? If the accountant leaves them to their own devices and then says, why did you do all this? Now I need it all like that. The client gets really frustrated because they've got to do everything twice. Again, it's that communication message. Look, you'll make Ben really happy if you do it this way, because you're going to do it right for your business, and we'll be able to show you that, and we'll be able to highlight kind of the profitability of your business, how it's going, where do you want it to come, are you hitting your targets, and also we'll be able to do compliance off the back of it in a fairly good time scale, which is aligned to the price structure that we set. If we didn't come in and do that and said, James, take you on as a client, speak to you at the end of the year, do what you want, we'll see you in 12 months, as long as you're not VAT registered or need to do payroll. See you in 12 months. Saw you in 12 months, and it was a basket case, and there was stuff everywhere, and you'd been
cost a fortune.
It would cost a fortune to sort, and you would just get frustrated and go, why was I never told that in the first place? That's really annoying. If you just told me and I'd done it in the way you would have asked. So that's why we do it. Again, it's not because we want to be kind of
it made sense completely.
We don't want to dictate it to you, but at the same time, we understand from a small business the best practices to use and how it's going to save you time and save you money, and obviously deliver a service in a way that you like. I hope you didn't take it in that way anyway, but you seem to have took it on board. So
it was really it just made me laugh, the phrasing.
Either you're a good listener or you're scared of me. I don't know which one it is, but I'm hoping it's the first one because I'm only 5'10".
So work. So you set up the business, everything's going well. Day to day, what are the kind of main challenges for you as a accountancy firm?
Day to day. So the practice, it's got we've got a couple of bookkeepers. We've got one full-time staff member at the moment, and we're continually looking to grow. So we'll probably be looking to bring on someone else as well into the business. Kind of workload.
Yes.
That's difficult in terms of just making sure that we've got a good plan in place. And everything's done on time, but that comes with the territory being an accountant. There's not something I want to moan about, but it's a day-to-day challenge. What have we got to do? We're constantly hampered by deadlines, accountants, and making sure that clients obviously meet those deadlines and send us the information. You'll know because you're a client of us. We've got a lot of systems in place to help us and the client, and we send a lot of emails out reminding. That's to help us first and foremost to make sure that everything's submitted, also to remind the client as much as possible in terms of the information that they need to send, and then secondly, just keeping up to date. Now, I'm passionate about it, so it's not a challenge, but just keeping up to date with everything in regards to the nature of our industry and the constant change, and communicating that to clients, and letting them know that this is now the new.
It's fairly similar to SEO actually, in terms of this. Google's essentially the government, and it's changing things all the time as to what's good, what you can do. You know, there's been a lot of content created with AI, and they're saying, well, now this is, or you can see from results, you know, that changes that are constantly happening. They have to keep abreast of, and keep trying.
I guess for you, I suspect SEO is even more fluid because Google can kind of do what they want, right? They self-approve and off they go, and you've got to deal with that.
No,
and that must be. I don't know how many, but that must be really difficult. From our perspective, it's less fluid because legislation needs to be passed by government.
Sure.
The difficulty for us comes in. That gets quite heavily publicised when a change does happen, so all our clients pick up that information indirectly of us, and maybe make their own judgments on the implications, and then come to us, and we need to be able to manage that and let them know, actually no, don't always believe or listen what you hear on either, maybe not the news, but what you read online these days, not always maybe applicable to yourself from a tax point of view and accounting point of view. Everything is dependent on the client itself. It depends what your scenario is. And although that sounds like an infuriating answer to give, especially on a podcast when people are looking for support, that is the answer in terms of you may read something and go, fantastic, I'll do that, but you need to work out the facts of your case as an individual and understand whether that applies to you and whether it's beneficial to you, because doing one thing often has a separate consequence somewhere else. So it's just understanding and making sure you weigh up everything correctly.
Yeah, I think when you're running a business, and finance is the one thing I'd really had no business acumen for, and I thought, well, it's the one thing I'll definitely pay for.
Yeah.
And then it's trusting someone to do that properly and to a level that I required as a complete novice in that area. You know?
And I guess I put that how. Let's not make me answer the question. I'll ask you the question. How do you trust? How do you build trust in account? Not how do you build trust generally. How do you build trust in accountant? Is it someone that looks like you, acts like you, communicates like you, works like you? What were you looking for?
Well, the match was clear in terms of I needed someone proactive, because that's the way out. I just wanted someone to tell me what I needed to do before I made a mistake and did the opposite. But also, I think it's the communication of it's not just do this, it's do this because of this. But if you don't do that, then understand that the implication is that there'll be more costs down the line here. And so just having someone to put it clearly to you so you understand makes life a lot easier and takes the stress out of the idea of the finances of a business.
I think our views are aligned then on building trust from an accountancy perspective. Our view is that trust comes through communication, and communication builds that trust. And if you can ask your accountant whether it's something good or bad's happened, and you can talk that through, you're going to get to some kind of resolution, and the client's going to understand why that has happened, and that then builds trust that action or whatever that issue is has been either resolved or. So we're very passionate on communication, as you'll know. You probably speak to us way more than you probably would want to if you're an accountant. But
it's usually a phone call saying, James, you know that email I sent 3 times to you, and you've not like. Could you just take a look at it for me?
Yeah, that's the communication we don't like. the chasing communication.
Yeah.
That's what we're very heavy on, as you'll know. We're very heavy on that. Whether you're a client that turns over 20,000 or you're a client that turns over £6 million, it's the level of dedication of communication. Whatever your problem is, it's going to be material. The same level of issue is going to be as material to a person who turns over 20,000 is to a person who turns over £6 million. Yes, the numbers are different, but the impact on that person could be the same, and therefore it's our job to have very good communication channels and lines to be able to then support that client, and that's how we build up our trust in our practice with our clients. We think it works very well.
Yeah. So what do you think the challenges in the future are going to be?
There's challenges in the future. I don't want to go too much into kind of tax changes on this side, although I could spend another podcast, James, boring everyone with tax legislation changes. But I'll try not to. I think making tax digital will be something that's going to be problematic for accountants and clients. It's been impending for a few years now. All clients will know about it. Some clients will know about it. It's basically additional level of submissions through software that clients are going to have to do if they have a certain level of turnover. But the implementation of those processes and how that's going to work is probably going to involve a lot more feedback from clients. Now, as you'll already know, and as you've already stated, me chasing for answers to emails, it's already hard enough to get the level of information we need out of clients all the time for all the compliance they've already got to do. So adding additional burden onto them is going to be a challenge for accountants moving forward. I'm a big advocate of using online software. There's still a lot of accountants who don't, but we're a big promoter of it. We get real-time access to clients' information. We can also help them with bookkeeping if they need that. We can also give them certain tax advice based on the information on their system as well. So there's lots of things we can do by having that information live.
Sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But what it also does is gives HMRC an ability to see live information. Right, that's the other side of it. Now that's not wrong, but that gives them the ability to ask more questions, which what they're asking basically from quarterly returns point of view. So the implementation of those processes will be quite a challenge for accountants, and something we need to get our head around. There's lots of proposals and working practices going in currently to try and deal with it. We've not communicated it too much with our clients yet because there's been too much change from the implementation process. So we're going to wait till there's some actual clear lines drawn in what it's going to look like before doing anything.
So if you were to give any advice to someone that wanted to get started in your business, now, I mean, what would that be from your experience?
What would I say? There's lots of work out there for accountants. First and foremost, don't be scared of not getting the work. Sadly, if you're good or bad, there's that much work out there. That, unfortunately, but that's a good thing because it means you can make a difference. There's lots of people out there who are absolutely looking for an accountant to make a difference, and look, there's loads out there that are like us as well, who want to tangibly make a difference to small businesses and support them. So if you've got a passion to do that, and you've got a passion to help and want to drive and be their finance partner, help them with compliance, deal with that. We're a problem solver at the end of the day as well. That's what we are a lot of the time. People come to us with all kinds of problems. We may not be the right person to answer all of them, but we can absolutely pass you onto the right person. But if you've got that passion, then go for it. That's what I would say, and go and seek support from other accountants who run their business. I'm more than happy to have a conversation. We've had conversations with various people looking It's setting up their own accounting practice to support them. At the end of the day, if I can make the industry better and we can bring more good people into the industry, that's all for the good of my business as well.
Reputation.
We're here to make it better for all small businesses. I can't suffice all small businesses. I'm never going to be able to, no matter how big I grow the practice. So we need other businesses out there who are like-minded and want to who want to do that. So I will come on the podcast if people want to connect with me, if they're looking to start their accountancy practice. More than happy to have a chat and come to our offices. We can go through my story in a little bit more detail. That's not a problem. I can bore them a little bit more on a few other things, but sorry, go on.
So if you had any advice for business owners about how to run the business or whatever, what would that be?
I think first and foremost, it's a case of utilise your accountant. You pay for the professional service, and I'm sure people pay well for it. Ask some questions if you're stuck. Ask your questions if you're not getting the answers. At the end of the day, it's an open market. Go and find an accountant who is going to answer your questions and communicate with you. It all comes back to that original point that we spoke about. Like I said, good accountants will want to support you with your queries. At the end of the day, if you don't come to them with queries throughout the year, you're going to come to them at the end of the year, and at that point it may be too late to resolve them. So first and foremost, utilise your accountant. And then from kind of managing a business from the financial perspective, if we go literally to like an individual business, we have a little bit of a 5-step plan. It's fairly simple, but small business owners are thinking, well, what are the core things that I probably should be doing that an accountant's going to tell me? So let's just make sure I'm running my business correctly. It's have a plan. What do you want to achieve? What's your goal? And what does that look like from a business point of view? And what does it look like from a financial point of view? Now, if you're a small business, I'm not talking about having a full financial plan. And even if you're a big business, I'm not talking about having a full 10-page essay on what the business is going to look like in 2 years. But have a plan, have a goal, have something to work to, both from a financial and a business point of view. And then set them. Then keep up to date with your finances. Keep up to date. Now, this sounds so simple, and it's to do with bookkeeping. Whether you do your bookkeeping, you outsource it, keep your finances up to date. There's nothing more important than understanding where you're up to and what that looks like, and you can then go to an accountant and ask questions and probably get more use out of them if you understand where your business finances are up to. So understand how that's going to work, and at what point in your growth model does that look like where you're probably not going to do that anymore if you're a small business, because at some point in time your hourly rate is going to be probably more than a bookkeeper's rate, and it's all about working out what's the most efficient kind of process and kind of when's the right time to outsource that for your business, but it still needs to be done and not neglecting it. And within doing that, keeping your finances up to date, that also includes getting paid on time and making sure you pay suppliers, but getting paid on time. People can do a lot of work and not get paid for a long time, and that can be a massive frustration. And then you can spend, if you don't keep your processes up to date, a lot of money chasing the money that you're owed, and suddenly it doesn't become that efficient. So keep up to date with your finances. Keep your personal and business finances separate. Now, this is for small businesses, but we see so many people muddle the two together, and it makes it really cloudy. It makes an accountant's job at year end a little bit harder because you've got to muddle through all the transactions. But also, the business owner doesn't really fully appreciate what the business is doing and what income they're getting from the company, because they want to put loads of things through the company for tax purposes, which at the end of the day, the accountant's going to go through them at the year end anyway and make a decision whether they are deductible for tax purposes. So just because you're putting it through the company books doesn't necessarily mean you get the tax relief for it, and that's really important to know. So we say, guys, put things in there that you think are claimable, but at the same time, don't be putting anything personal through the business, because we'll just end up taking it out anyway from a tax point of view, and it muddies the water throughout the year if you're trying to look at your numbers of how you're doing, because it's not a true reflection of what your business is and how it's performing. And that's really important to know. Is your business, is it making money? Can you afford the next employee? Can you afford the next investment? Whatever that business is doing through its growth, it's going to have those challenges and those questions. Can I afford that piece of equipment? And unfortunately, if you muddle all the books up with personal spend as well, it makes those decisions very hard to come to a conclusion. For bigger businesses, generally those controls are in place to stop that happening anyway. So that generally won't be the case. But for smaller businesses, it's definitely keep a separation of your business and personal finances so you can understand the profitability of your business.
So, in your world full of figures and bottom lines and profitability, how do you measure success in your business?
So for me is success from BRJ for accountant. It has to be client satisfaction. Yeah, I'm an accountant. You may think my success is based on my bottom line. It's got absolutely nothing to do with that. Yeah, I've got hygiene factors that I need to take care of in terms of looking after my daughter, my wife, putting a roof over her head. Yeah, and all our clients will say that our fees are very competitive. That's not the main goal. The main goal, what do I get satisfaction out of? Well, it's being a geek and keeping up to date with all the tax law. and helping clients with that, because we've got a lot of complex clients in our portfolio as well that need that level of support, but also seeing businesses grow. There's nothing better for me than going back to a business in 12 months' time, although we'll spoke to that business owner throughout the year, and we may have done management accounts quarterly and had chats, but stepping away from that business, looking at the financial numbers and seeing that growth and speaking to the owner and saying I'm really happy with where we're going and how we're doing, that's success to me. Now, there's different levels of success, and for that to happen, you need financially to be able to,
of course,
to be looked after, and you need other things at play. But what does success look like for me? What makes me really happy from me setting up my own business? It would be very much that. Plan for taxes, really important. You don't know what your exact tax bill is, but an accountant should be able to give you a good estimate based on your income. If you're new business, slightly more difficult, but if you're an established business, you've been going for a few years, they should be able to give you percentages, and depending on whether you're VAT registered or not, different percentages on what to save for each tax, and save that as you go along. Again, a lot of people don't speak to an accountant or are afraid to because they think they're going to get hit with a big bill. Well, you can stop that yourself. You can manage it yourself, and you can put money aside. Having a good accountant will give you a good estimate of what you should need to pay. Now that will change based on business decisions throughout the year, but you can save throughout the year, so then it's not a case of running around for money at key deadlines. And then appreciate success and understand failure. And then go back to plan one, which is go back to number one. Sorry, amend your plan based on that, and it comes back to appreciate success. What does success look like in your business? And we've got plenty of clients say, "Spend success is not just financial; it's doing X, Y, and Z because I'm delivering a service." And we said that's great. So therefore, but financially, you need to achieve these numbers for your business to continue to deliver that ultimate success. And some clients say to us, "Ben, the finance side of it is our ultimate success, and that's what I'm driven by, and that's fine." And we will then put numbers in place to say, well, if you want to get to that point in time, this is what from a financial plan it looks like in order to achieve that, and understand whether you've achieved that or you've not, and if you've not, why have you not, and re-amend that plan and go again.
Constant iteration, you call it agile working. And
exactly.
It's small iterations rather than one big one. You then keep visibility over what you're doing at any point in time.
And that's why we have, as part of our service, we ask all companies to, if you can't dedicate an hour of your time to sit and have an annual review with us, then you're probably not right for us either, because we want to sit down and help you to understand your numbers and then chat about the plan for the next 12 months. We're not going to write up your business plan or your budget unless you want to individually pay for that service. What we will do is have that discussion around those things that we spoke about, those 5 steps, and the client can go away understanding what they need to do with those different steps to go away and say, right, well, this is how I can kind of be looking after my business from that point of view, which none of them is specifically managing your business finances, but they're all things you can be doing to help you look after your own business and make sure it's looked after and not neglecting it.
Fantastic. Well, we've gone through a lot there, and it's been what I thought it would be, which is a good conversation, and I think people listening will have got some good advice there.
I hope I've not bored too many people. We've got stereotypes as accountants, and sometimes it can be right, and sometimes it's not quite right. So hopefully it's.
I told a friend about the podcast, and he said, "I'll use that. I'm struggling to sleep at the moment." So, I really appreciate your time coming in and coming on the podcast. And yeah,
I appreciate the opportunity to come on and have a chat. And like I said, if even one business owner takes something away from it, then that's a success, isn't it?
And we'll put all your contact details and all the on the recording.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
Right, we're done.